Alright, let's get this started. So I've been gone for about a week now, getting back into it tonight. Had a nice, much needed vacation, so well rested, ready to get back into this. I think for tonight we're going to be finishing up this top piece, probably up in here. I've got to do sort of what I was doing for the blocks with adding some noise and just finishing it up, putting all the little finalizing touches on that, and then we'll just work our way down to the bottom and finish this up. So let's just solo this out. I noticed that I had missed some things. I didn't rough up this surface like I did over here for some reason before I moved on to the next part, so I'm going to want to go ahead and take care of that now. Let's get my brushes set up, put this on Z-sub. And just like we've been doing, I'm just going to rough this up. Grab this bottom section down here too while I'm at it. Grab our H polish with just square alpha. Maybe get some cracks in here like we've been doing. I just need to fix, remember we did on our brush down at the tablet pressure and size, we're just going to push this down, and then under stroke for our lazy mouse we're going to set this to 55. So maybe just continue this if it's already there. You don't want to go too small in the cracks because what happens is then it gets really hard to get your sort of cleanup brushes in there and fix it up. So depending on your size, you know, you want to keep it, oops, wrong brush. You want to but I like to sort of over exaggerate the size at the beginning. Then when you come in with a brush like this, you can kind of get in there a little bit easier. So you can see I kind of have to hit those edges, and if this was too narrow in here, it'd be really hard to catch those. Grab our pinch brush. And we can just kind of seal that back up. Make that nice and tight. Give it a little bit of waviness. $17 is a little bit too big for that, so let's back this down to say 7. And of course the numerical values used up in here are really going to depend on the size of your model. So if you've got, you know, a bigger mesh, then these will be bigger numbers. If it's smaller, then you're going to be going smaller. And sometimes just breaking up the lines just makes it look better. You get sort of these little like islands that happen, these little like concrete stone islands that tend to look pretty good. And sometimes with doing, you know, the sort of work after, it kind of kills your crack, so you just gotta come back through with the brush again, the orbs crack, and kind of get in there, where you sort of gouge out that crack line. You want to be careful, make sure that you're going over the same sort of grooves that you had before. You know, you don't want to come in and do something like that, because that's not going to work. And you can even say push this down so that maybe looks like it's all kind of worn out and missing. Maybe it's been chunked out of here. You don't want to make it too flat though, you want some angles on it, so then when it makes that normal map, you can see how the light here is brighter and this is darker. It's because there's an angle there, and you want that because that's going to sell the normal map better. So I think that looks pretty good. Let me grab my pinch again. So maybe something like that. And I mean, you could always completely just remove this too if you wanted to, just have it look like that whole piece is just gone now. We could even continue it down. So let's grab our orbs crack. Let's go back to 7. Maybe look like this crack's coming down, continues into this one or something. And what's nice about this is you can kind of give it some more interest, you know, as as you sort of polish it out, so I can make it look like this edge down here is kind of chipped off, this one's chipped off. Give it some kind of interesting angles and stuff. You want to be careful when you get up into like this area because some of these brushes is going to kind of deform that geometry, so I'm just going to go up to the top there and not all go all the ways. I can make my brush bigger, get some sort of sharper edges in here. Then we'll go back to the pinch brush. Now for pinch, the bigger your brush, the less, or the more I should say for bigger is going to affect, so the more surface area. The smaller I make it, you can see that it's just going to do a little bit tighter on the inside. So if you don't want the whole crack being deformed, then you can make your brush smaller. I do want this all pulled in, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to actually make my brush smaller and draw it through there again. And really what I care about is how does it look when I'm pulled out, right? So that's the biggest thing when you're game modeling. Because for the most part, players aren't going to run smack dab up into your model, right? They're going to see it when it's pulled back. So they're going to see it when it looks like this. So that's what's important to me. And then we can check how it looks under some harsh lighting. And you have to figure that most of this will be done through the normal map. We're not going to have this actually in the low poly, so we want to make sure it looks good when the light hits it. So I'm going to come over to this one, start working on roughing this surface up. Don't want to forget these inside parts. I'm just gonna go ahead and do the sort of the cut-ins here just on all these faces instead of doing them one at a time. I need to clean up a couple of these a little too awkward in there, so I'll fix those up as well. You want to make sure your brush doesn't get too close to the edge on these things or it's going to start pushing up that geometry right in here, and I don't really want it touching that. I don't want it messing with any of the stuff that I've designed down there either. I'm not really overthinking these brush strokes, I'm kind of just letting the brush hit, you know, and if it looks good, it stays. You can kind of back yourself into a bad corner sometimes if you overthink too much. If you start getting too many of those strokes, you can hold the Alt key on a brush like this and kind of smooth it back out. You can see how I just nicked that side there and it kind of pushed it in. Doesn't look very good. I'm just going to go ahead and save it again. These edges for some reason got a little washed out, so I'm just going to come back in and kind of clean them up a little bit, make them a little bit tighter. Here they're a little blurry, so we'll just come back in and kind of fix that. I don't want to go too crazy on it. Just keep working around it, finishing this up, cleaning these pieces up. Trying to get some different varying heights and stuff on the surface so that normal map comes out nice. So it's not just a flat block like we got right here. You know, I want that sort of change in shape and stuff going on, so when the light hits it like that, you know, you kind of get those shadows and those divots and things in there. Just makes it look a lot better overall. I was getting nervous. Something to do with autosave, it does not like. Yeah, it's just for some reason autosave. If it starts autosaving and I click, it crashes. I haven't really been able to figure out why so far. If I do like a normal save, it's fine. It just does not like that autosave for some reason. But not too big of a deal. Nothing I did is I misjudged as for the 87 million. I misjudged on a couple subdivisions and I'm gonna back down. There's a lot of sub tools I can show you in a minute. It's quite a few different pieces, and I just misjudged on the overall count. It's not 87 million for just this, don't worry, but there's actually a lot to this whole thing. And let it get its mind for a minute here. But yeah, it's an entire pillar piece, so there's quite a bit going on. So I'm going to be just finishing this up and then backing them all down, probably at least one subdivision on each, cut this thing way down. They really probably should have used polygroups rather than multiple subtools, but as I'm still self-teaching myself ZBrush, I'm prone to making silly mistakes like that. Alright, so I didn't lose much at all here. I'll just finish this up again quick. I started in Maya actually, and then I brought in a base mesh, dynameshed some pieces here and there, and then started sculpting each one individually. But I mean, even with this one, like, if we find, let's see if I can get to this subtool. I think this one's up. Where's this one? There we go. So on this one, even if I go down, let's say one subdivision, like there's almost no loss in the look here, and it's going from 1.9 million up to, give it a minute to calculate, but 7.8. So yeah, I'll be pulling this one down as well, just like the rest of them. Wow, no problem on the questions. Yeah, it's, you know, I bring in, like, this was just a flat, like you can kind of see some of the remnants here with the flat surface. So that's how it kind of comes in from Maya, and then I just do all of the sculpting on top of that. If you check out my YouTube link down below, it takes you to my channel, and you'll actually see what I started with. No, what I'll do is I'll get through the sculpting on this, and then what I'll actually do is I'll create the low poly from the high poly using what's it called? Decimation Master. Sorry, I blanked out for a minute there. And I'll decimate it down, and then I'll export that model into Maya, and then do any necessary cleanups. Because sometimes Decimation Master will leave like weird vertices that are overlapping or things like that. So I'll fix that up by hand, and then I'll UV unwrap that model. So really, only I use Maya for is just the creation of the base mesh, just because some people like to do it in ZBrush. I'm really bad at doing it in ZBrush, so I just opt to do it in Maya instead. Yeah, I don't know if it's just because I'm like so used to Maya and the way Maya does things that I can't like wrap my head around the way ZBrush does it, but I've just never been able to model like from the ground up inside ZBrush. Bolding out some of these edges here. I got a little blurry for some reason. Mostly because I generally associate ZRemesher more with character modeling, just because it gives you quads, you know, which is kind of necessary for animation or anything that's going to be moving or deforming in any sort of way. For Decimation Master, it's converting it all to quads, which, you know, putting this in an environment model, this is all going to go into Unreal Engine, and so that's going to convert it to quad or to tris rather when it goes into the engine. So it's kind of just already creating the model into tris, you know, from the decimation, so I don't have to worry about is it going to screw anything up when it makes tris or anything like that. So, you know, it's putting it into tris, which I need for the engine anyways, and so it's not really a big deal to me. Now, if this was going to move in some way or change shape or morph or any of that stuff, then I would have to use something like ZRemesher. Good thing about environment art is I don't really care what my topology looks like as long as my model looks good. Plus with tris you tend to get away with having a lesser poly count as well. Yeah, they're pretty different. It's a pretty There's a lot of stuff when you work on characters that I get to ignore when working on environments because I don't have to worry about it. Like the only two things you really have to worry about for environment modeling is does it look good and do I have places to hide my UV seams? Really, that's about it. Thank you. I'm still fairly new to ZBrush, so I make a lot of silly mistakes like my astronomical poly count up there. Thanks for the follow. I don't know why that sound just sounded like it played twice. kind of want to put a small crack somewhere on this front part. Just save it again real quick in case it decides to crash on me again. Mostly if it's just named like custom brush, that I've just adjusted things like fall off, or maybe you know, just small little settings here and there that just differ it from the default brush a little bit. That way I don't have to make the changes every single time I open up zBrush. So it's just little stuff like that, just to save myself time. And honestly, at this point, I can't remember what I did on half of them. Let me fix my tablet pressure real quick. And find a new song. Journey soundtrack has ended. We'll do some wow. Alright, so those two changes. Let's get this to about 7. Too wavy there, I don't want that. Yeah. Shave a little bit more off of this one. just pinch some of that back together so it's not so big. As long as my silhouette looks good, I'm happy. Character will probably be about here, looking up at it. See? Hey Shivers, I'm working on a pillar that's going to go in sort of a fantasy-esque temple cave kind of environment. So if you check out the poly count link below, you'll actually get to see the progress so far. I don't know why I just saved that again right after it just quick saved. So that side's done, this side's done. Just gotta finish up this one, and then looks like the second half of this one. But yeah, it's just a sort of environment for my portfolio, very inspired by stuff like Skyrim and things like that. It still bothers me in here, but I'll probably clean that up at a later time. Or towards the end, probably. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut into all of these for right now. I don't like to labor on one area too long. I find that you just wind up getting frustrated and spend too long trying to fix it, so if something's bothering me, I'll actually move on, finish some other stuff, and then come back to it when I get sort of a clearer picture. And the reason I'm doing this surface rough up is because on the low poly, these will probably just be flat planes with the baked in, and I don't want to just throw, you know, a flat texture on top of them. I want the normal to kind of have some depth and interest to it. So this is kind of just making the surface uneven a little bit, help catch that light in the environment that I'm making, because the environment I'm making is going to have some really harsh lighting in it. And so when you have really harsh lighting, you can kind of take advantage of it with it catching these like dips and divots and everything inside the model. Not even really inside the model, just inside the texture. Which is why I use this light to test too, so you can see how you get all this surface variation and everything in there. And you kind of get it exaggerated a little bit, because a lot of times what happens is the normal map's not going to bake as strong as you see it right here. And then as soon as you put, you know, say a stone texture on top of it, you're going to lose a lot of it as well. So always kind of over exaggerate what you're working on. You can see as soon as I switch to sort of like a flat color with flat lighting, it all kind of disappears. So. I'm just going to use my brush to clean up like this. You know, I want these nice harsh edges here, because those will bake really nice. And when you're working with tight geometry like this, you might get weird, you know, little things like this. It's really not that big of a deal, because when it bakes, it's probably not even going to show up. And you figure, say the model's sitting like here, you can't even see it. So don't go too crazy always trying to correct little things or you're going to spend way too long on a model. I'm just going to save it again. And we'll be applying a whole surface noise to this as well towards the end. That will help tighten up some of these edges and give the whole thing a little bit of an extra roughness. Sometimes using like a polish against edges will kind of inflate them a little bit, so then you just gotta go back in and kind of polish them back up. You know, and how much surface noise you put into something is really up to you and the kind of look you're going for. If you wanted this to be really destroyed, you could go crazy and kind of, you know, tear chunks out of this or cut whole sections off. If you wanted, you could use like the trim brushes, you know, the planer brushes, things like that. Which I did do on one of these sides, I think. I don't remember. The joys of taking a week vacation in the middle of working on something is you come back forgetting half of what you did. I'll have to rough up this top section as well. The reason there's this giant hole in the middle is because there's actually blocks that sit on top of this and then go up further up the pillar. So I cut out the center just to get rid of some geometry, make sure it wasn't, wasting it when I did the subdivision levels. Kind of see how that sits on top of there. So most of this is done. I'll probably just rough up these surfaces, maybe add a crack or two in there. But this is getting pretty close towards the end. Probably won't add any cracks or anything like that to that. Might do one or two of these side blocks and then this bottom piece, and that's about it for that. So this thing is getting close to being done. Turn on perspective here. Thanks, Ashton. My goal is to have this in and then have some like candles and things in here that'll be like lit. Do some fun stuff with the lighting once I get into the engine. But that will be further down the road. But I'm gonna, stumbling all over my words tonight. I'm gonna have to actually call it a night there. I've streamed for actually about 25 minutes longer than I was planning on tonight. Like I mentioned earlier, you can see my previous videos up on YouTube. I generally upload them about a day or so after. So the stuff I did tonight will probably be up on YouTube sometime tomorrow. But you can see all of my previous stuff on there. You can see everything I've done leading up until this point. I plan on streaming the whole environment, so if you're interested in seeing sort of it to its completion, make sure to follow me, make sure to check out those YouTube videos. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I enjoyed streaming. I hope you guys don't mind me screwing up and learning and all that fun stuff that comes with using a program you're not 100% used to. My streaming schedule is below. It changes a little bit just because I do work full time and have, lots of responsibilities, but I do try to make my schedule as much as possible. Hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I'll see you next time.